What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to CPX Pickleball. Today we've got the man, the myth, the legend here, all-time Hall of Famer, Chris Chelios. 26 seasons, the most playoff games ever played, Olympian, and just one of the most absolute craziest players of all time. Some people say one of the greatest American-born players, if not the greatest. So happy to have you here today and talk a little bit about pickleball.
Thank you for that intro, Kyle. I'm starting to like myself. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see the progression of sports. And obviously, what you've done here for Chicago and in Chicago is incredible. And, first of all, like, you are the most in shape, fit guy ever. And you've been playing for so long. How do you do it? How did you get to this point? And, yeah.
Well, I guess when you have to do it for a living, I think I was, ahead of the curve back in the late 80s, early 90s. No one ever circuit trained in hockey. No question that was my big advantage early. Everybody eventually caught up. Since day one, the evolution of sports has been, training, diet, equipment. Yeah, and then, you got to have a little luck along the way. And I've been surrounded by great coaches, teammates, and some amazing teams. So there was a lot of hard work involved in it and a lot of help with the transformation of training and equipment.
Where would you say as far as hockey progressing from when you started to how you ended at 48, correct?
I mean, again, the training, no question. I just adjusted the evolution of equipment, me getting a trainer. I think I was probably one of the first 5 guys to ever get a trainer in hockey and stuck with him throughout my career from 94 to 2010. So his name was T.R. Goodman. I'll drop his name because I own pretty much half of what I have. But yeah, and and as far as adjusting to the rules, that was something that was probably the biggest or the most challenging thing as a defenseman, because you had to be smart, you had to learn how to play the position, the angles, but you had to adjust and figure out a way to be smarter. And I think for me, I was lucky enough that I understood the game and I was willing to learn. The last 10 years wasn't easy, but because of the training and my equipment, the smarts, it got me to that age of 48.
Absolutely. That's insane. So what did that training regimen look like for you?
So really similar to a boxer or wrestler's training, circuit training. A lot of jump rope, a lot of, first month of training was heavy weights, build up strength. And the second month was quickness, lean and getting lean. And then hour to hour and a half circuit training. And you just go from one exercise to the next. And it's very common now, obviously, but back in the early 90s, nobody was doing it. So it was amazing. And then I took it a step further, living in California in the summers and training. I had a group of guys, we called them the Malibu Mob, right? Yeah. And they became kind of famous for their training. And their, they did these crazy extreme sports of, Laird Hamilton was, I'll use him for an example. We first ones to paddleboard, mountain biking was a big part of it. Training with a guy named Don Wildman, who started Bally's Health Clubs and Lifetime Fitnesses. So adding that with my trainer, it just took me to a level of there's nothing I couldn't do. I just was so strong.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I mean, within that training, obviously, it's crazy to me how you were able to overcome so many injuries. And even now, when you do get injured, whatever, but you know what it's going to take to fix it. Like, how are you so confident?
Yeah, there's no question at any time you can suffer an injury that could be career-ending or at least, keep you out for significant amounts of time. And probably the quickest to ever come back when I did tear my ACL, when I finally did the surgery, I was back in 2.5 months because of my training and all the prep work I did. And it takes a lot. It's a big commitment to do. And it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't luck. It was the hard work and the technology and my trainer, who was way ahead of the curve.
That's insane. I mean, how do you feel versus, playing in your 20s, 30s, and then almost your 50s? How did that progress? Because it seems like you never slowed down.
Sometimes you're just lucky and gifted in my metabolism, the endurance I had. But as I, got later into my career, I noticed the difference. I did start sweating, which was wild. It happened overnight. And fortunately, I got traded from Chicago to Detroit at the perfect time when I couldn't carry the load anymore. And, I wasn't playing 25 minutes anymore. I was playing, 15 to 20 minutes. Still trained just as hard as I ever did. It shows you can't fight Father Time. I think I've fought it long enough and won that battle against him because I did play till 48. But you just have to adjust and different methods of training. Instead of endurance, it was strength. And then when my trainer saw things that were falling off or he thought the things I needed to work on, he would call me even when I wasn't in California during the season and tell me what I needed to do. So, like, he watched closely. I was really lucky to have that trainer, and he was right every time. So that contributed to why the longevity.
That's unreal. That's unreal. And obviously with Detroit, you won 2 cups, which is insane. And you obviously ended up coming back to Chicago, which Jersey was retired last year, which is absolutely epic. How do you feel like with the progression of the equipment in hockey? How much different was it when you first, between obviously starting and then towards your later years?
I mean, God, everything, there's nothing better than lighter equipment, but, just as equally as strong, whether it was your shoulder pads or your skates, the support on your skates, but sticks, most important.
Really?
Ask any guy. If they sent me a dozen sticks, I'd be lucky if 4 of them were good. And back in the day, it was wood, right? So I guess every tree's not the same, and the flex and whatever, but they just weren't. Some were lighter, some were heavier. So and it was very finicky and about my sticks, as were most players. And then as the evolution became, graphite, fiber, aluminum, and I went through all those stages. And now mostly graphite, the sticks are it's to that point now. Most guys are using graphite, if not all.
Yeah.
And that's where this kicks in, and we'll get to that eventually. But and you could shoot harder. Like, you find guys are shooting harder just because of the equipment alone. And these poor goaltenders, they got to put up with that. Their equipment's getting lighter and bigger, but it wasn't, the puck was coming in faster, and it was incredible. If I go back to now trying to use my wood stick, on the ice, I can't use it. I can't get the puck off the ice. It's crazy what a difference the equipment made, but especially the sticks.
That's crazy, and that makes a ton of sense. And I'm sure there's a ton of parallels, obviously, in other sports and stuff like that. And I guess that's a good time to ask, like, when is the first time you dabbled in other sports? I mean, outside of just pickleball, what else did you play when you were playing hockey and stuff like that?
There wasn't a whole lot of sports other than, I guess you call mountain biking sport. That's really what, took me to that different level.
Really?
I was going out in Malibu. I was training out in Malibu at the time. And there were days where we'd be out in the mountains for 3-4 hours. And just because it was new to me, I enjoyed it so much, but didn't realize, what a toll it took and on my legs and my hips and just balance. And it was great. It was a great adrenaline rush. And then I got into, skiing, which is a no-no in hockey, right? Because if you get hurt, you're not getting paid. But and I got into skiing and snowboarding, but in moderation until I'd retired. And you're always looking for challenges to compete, right? And pickleball has been perfect. I haven't joined, been in enough tournaments yet to actually compete. It's mostly been with friends and for fun, but every once in a while, that thing clicks in my head and you want to win. No question that pickleball has been that biggest thing that's filled that void for me post-career.
Yeah, that's crazy because, I was curious to know, like, you are such a competitor. It seems like that's all you really cared about when you were playing, rightfully so. That's why you kept winning. And you never really played tennis or anything.
No.
You dabbled.
No,
not even.
No, and I just, for whatever reason, all my kids got into it. I just never put in the time at first, but I didn't like it as much as I do pickleball. And it wasn't about the time thing. I didn't like it. I mean, plain and simple. I love watching tennis. I think it's a great sport.
Yeah.
All my kids did really well in it, and as a social event with their friends. I was so much into hockey and the biking and the surfing that I didn't really need anything else. But when pickleball came along, boy, and all my friends in California, everything starts out there.
Yeah.
Whatever you think, it does start out there. And these guys, they take it to a level of seriousness. So it's fun. I really enjoy getting together with them. And now it's spread all over the country, which is great.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's great. It's wild to me that you don't really like golf either.
No, I don't like playing. It's the same thing. I love watching it.
Yeah.
I can drive around in a golf cart and watch my buddies play.
Yeah,
but it's too slow, too long for me. And there's no question. Maybe when I turn 70 and I got to slow down a little bit, maybe that'll be the sport. But for now, that's not my thing. No.
Yeah. So what do you think makes pickleball different for you than the other sports?
The action, it can get, especially when you're playing singles, like, what a workout it is. Unfortunately, again, it's tougher on the body at my age now. I'm almost 63, so you got to take that into consideration. But doubles all day long, and the fact that you can play with your wife, your girlfriend, it's co-ed, your buddies, it makes it that much better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how was the experience playing out in Malibu? obviously people in Malibu, they don't, if they're going to do something, they're going to do it all the way and they're going to make it right. So how is it playing with your buddies out there?
I mean, their advantage obviously is the weather. They can play 12 months a year where we're all cooped up here, and they're eventually will catch up in Chicago. There just aren't enough courts to
100%.
please everybody. So it's tough getting court time. That's the one thing, but you'll see there's more and more places popping up and opening up, and that's going to be great. But for the time being, the biggest inconvenience is not being able to get those court times. And in California, those guys, half of them are, because they have the luxury of having property, they're building their own courts. And it's every one of my friends has built a court now on their property. It doesn't take up a lot of room in your backyard. Yeah. The only thing is the elements, wind, once in a while. But for the most part, these guys have that advantage of being able to play every day pretty much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's insane. I mean, what do you think as far as like being so early? Pickleball just really started picking up steam in the last few years here. Where do you see it going? And then, where do you see progression with you playing it? Do you see it slowing down anytime soon?
Oh, I mean, it's become a TV sport, and you see the celebrities that are playing now, they've had these tournaments, these guys are getting, John McEnroe's a great example, ex-tennis player. Yeah. Now he's competing against guys like Andre Agassi and younger guys, and it's tougher on him. And he thought he could just pick up a paddle and go out there and play. But if you're not playing every day and putting the time in, it's like anything else. So now with the celebrity status and everybody that's playing, it's booming. And I love watching the tournaments. They just showed the greatest point ever. These two guys rallying. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that, but it was incredible. Again, I wish I had the legs to play one-on-one, but these kids are amazing. And there's other sports that come and go, but this is here to stay. There's no question.
Absolutely. It's interesting how typically when things become there's always that friction at the beginning where people are second guessing it. They think, maybe not. And then once pickleball is one of those things where somebody plays it once or twice, they're like, I get it now.
Yeah. And the age, like you could play from, 9 years old or who knows, just like tennis, you could start younger till your 70s. It's, and again, the doubles thing, like it's a great sport, just similar to tennis, but just, I think a little easier to play than tennis and quicker to learn.
For sure. You mentioned the celebrity status. Who are some friends you've been playing with?
Well, I'll drop first name. I'm going to drop Eddie Vedder, right? He's fallen in love with it, and every chance he gets, that he's on the road, and he tries to make it a point to, at least somewhere convenient for him to get to a court. It's endless. They're all playing. It's crazy and how good they are. Like it's one after another. These guys, and it's become a competition. A big gambling, event. Like Mike Comrie's another kid played. He wasn't a superstar in the NHL, but he had a good career. He had to quit because of his hips. He had his hips replaced, and now he's playing pickleball at a high level in tournaments. And so he's a kid that's really inspired a lot of people.
That's epic. Do you see yourself playing more tournaments and stuff like that as time goes on?
No question. But again, it's something I have. I hate to fail, and I'd hate to let my partner down. And it's one of those deals. So I'd have to put in the time. And hockey was my life, and that was my job. And now to prepare for a tournament, I think 2-3 weeks of playing every day, I think it'd be more than enough to at least be at that level where I can compete and be happy with, my performance and not let my teammate down, quite honestly.
Absolutely. And how do you feel, working together on the paddles and stuff like that? How do you feel it's helped in your game and improve playability and stuff like that?
Like I said, it goes back to the equipment thing and my sticks. And this paddle, the progression of when we started this paddle to now how it feels from the grip, I haven't had a paddle since I've started playing pickle that's had a better grip than ours. And again, you can tweak with the weight as much as you want. You could add the lead weights on the end of it if you need to, and the better you get, if you feel like you need that extra weight when you start hitting with guys that really hit the ball hard, and you just adjust. And I found this paddle, again, it's just comfort. The comfort I've had. I haven't found a paddle that I can play better than I have with this one. So it says a lot for what you've done. The weight I feel is the biggest, and even the texture of the. There's some companies out there that got a little more texture, which isn't legal, and you'll find that out once you join the tournaments.
Yep.
But what we've developed here in this paddle, it's for me, there's no better paddle that I've ever tried.
Absolutely, especially coming from somebody who has tried it all, and people throw equipment at you all the time. It definitely is a work in progress together to make sure we're making the stuff that's at the cutting edge of pickleball technology, and also being, like you said, tournament regulated. Paddles are getting banned every day.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
people are being funky with.
I don't want to get caught cheating. I never have,
exactly.
so I'm not going to start now.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. I mean, yeah, I think, moving forward, like with pickleball and stuff like that, where do you see, things we can do to, progress from here, and where do you see the sport going? I know it's televised now, and a lot more people are playing it. Do you think it'll ever be an Olympic sport? Do you think, it could be pushed to that level?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, like tennis became one. I'm not going to rip on it, but breakdancing became this is 10 times better than breakdancing. So yeah, there's no question. And like I said, it's growing. The fact that, celebrities or athletes, tennis players are transitioning into pickleball, there's no stopping it. I couldn't see that. I wouldn't. It's got to be a next Olympic sport. It's too fast and it's too exciting and not to be. And so in world tournaments, like there's no boundaries for pickleball, the way it exploded over the past few years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what do you think in Chicago, with pickleball courts starting to pop up right now? It's, 20 degrees outside, so we can barely play anywhere if we wanted to. So how do you see that transitioning and, things opening up with limited real estate?
Yeah. Well, I still think, again, it's such a big city, and there's so many buildings that are available to do it, and it's caught fire like right now. So if you manage it right, someone opening up a pickleball courts or courts, whether indoor or outdoor, you're going to be successful. There's no question. Everybody's playing. Anybody you talk to, once they play it, they love it. You get hooked. It's just it's a sport for everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's so exciting to play, and Chris can kick my butt every time we play pickleball. So.
He's getting better though. Kyle's been playing a lot, and there's no question from 6 months ago even to now how much he's improved. So it's like anything else. You got to put the time in, but once you're there to that level, and obviously you want to compete everybody. You don't have to. Everybody's not the same, but they put you in the level, but. It's not a bad thing to get your butt kicked once in a while.
Absolutely.
Because it raises you to that level of competition when you play against someone that's in a higher heat or level, what they call it. And again, like I said, noticing the difference between you and now I'm going to have to start playing more to keep up with you.
Now I'm scared of you starting to play more. As soon as you get too much playtime, it's game over. That's too funny. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how we progress with things. You know how it is every day. Every month we're playing different places and trying new things and trying new paddles. And it's awesome to be with Chris and having him put every paddle to the test and kind of say, hey, we need to tweak this, we need to fix that, or this one's too heavy, or this grip is this way. And there's a different paddle for everyone. And now we have 5 in the lineup, and we continue to improve and progress. And I think that's what makes our company a little bit different. We're constantly on the ball, constantly testing, constantly trying, and putting paddles in, whether it's a woman's hand, a man's hand, a retired athlete's hand who's very competitive, or somebody who's just retired and just playing for fun. So seeing them out on the recreational courts and then also in these crazy tournaments is super exciting. But I don't think that evolution will ever stop, just like you were talking about with the hockey stick.
Yeah, and again, like the best thing is traveling. Like you travel, it's so easy to bring your paddle with you and play anywhere. Like that, we went to Mexico last year for New Year's, and all we did was play pickleball at the resort. So it's just a great pastime, and whether you're doing it for fun or you're competing, it's a family sport too, which is again, who does? I mean, you can golf, but my daughters don't want to golf. They'd rather play pickleball. And my daughters started playing the minute they saw us playing. So and they picked it up really quick too. So that's a family. That's the other thing too, that being a family sport.
Absolutely. And sometimes you could get into fights with significant others. It's
well, that's the other thing. Yeah, that's not great.
No, it all works itself out. But it's funny to see families on the court teaching each other the rules and stuff like that. But Chris, thank you so much for spending a little time and going over the awesome sport of pickleball. I'm so grateful for all your contributions and help in developing this paddle and standing behind us.
Yeah, you bet. Trust me, you got to try this paddle. It's just the feel is amazing, and you said I haven't had a better. It's the best I've played in the last since we've started this.
Yeah.
and we've come out with these other paddles, the Pro and models, and the CPS. I think, like I said, this has elevated my game a lot. So
Absolutely, and that's crazy to say for somebody who just has the raw natural talent, but it helps to have a little extra.
yep,
A little extra.
every little bit helps, and this is the difference maker for me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys very much for watching, and you guys can follow Chris on his Instagram at Chris Chelios, and us on Instagram at CPX Pickleball.